Evening all, welcome to Total Dust. Yes, we're still doing them, don't worry. Where to begin with this one? This is so much has happened. It's like a car crash has happened. I don't mean in a bad way. I mean it's like something terrible has happened, but also something wonderful. I think this is an interesting kind of statement. It is truly polarizing, in fact. I think that word has been bandied about willy-nilly. I think it has polarized. Let me just be very clear on my position. I love the changes. I think jumping about like a goon is funny. As you can see here, look at this map. You remember this map? This awful, awful map where people would just constantly get a dropship up to the toy. You know, this was the number one go-to point on tryhards was to get a dropship and come up here and drop spawn pads. And oh look, here they come. And this is, now you can just jump. I mean, look, there we go. Almost like clockwork. Some douchebag tryhard is just desperately trying to win the map by, I don't know, tactics with a capital X. Look at that. So using the jump pack, whatever you want to call it, we can just get up here and stop it. So that's a good thing, a very, very, very good thing. Slightly frustrating though. I think it's interesting that again, it's a wonderful demonstration of how this game is just a comfortable, warm blanket to many of you. Not so much me anymore. It's more like a tramp's urine-infested, soaked blanket covered in excrement and special brew. For me, only because I think the problem is there's too many. The habit is a problem in this game. Look, he didn't stop. It's like I took the spawn pads off completely, and what did he do? He went and got another flipping dropship to come do the same again. This is the problem. This is almost case in point, exhibit number one, Your Honor, of the problem with this game is that there's too many people doing that shit. Doing the kind of, this is the way they've always played the game, so they're just going to carry on playing the game like that. I mean, it's a fucking shame, really, because, and excuse my language, because this is the reality of why this game is stagnant, stale, and really kind of stayed in what it's trying to achieve. It is boring, and it needs more things like the jump thing, which is annoying to many, and I know it's cheesy and it's dumbing down, but it needs a lot more game-breaking mechanics, or rather habit-breaking mechanics is what I truly mean. Because that is really the only way this game will survive. But the thing is, everybody moans about it. It's like, look at what happened with PC. As soon as they start even saying they're going to revise PC, massive rages. What is it? Whole coalitions group together and CEOs write a formal letter to CCP. And it's like, what did he say? Even the mafia say there's no crime. And it's true. That is the flippin' truth. So don't get me wrong. I'm not terribly happy with the changes. I think kind of messing with tanks again seemed a bit pointless, and I think the jumping piece is amusing, and as you saw, look, you can actually jump up on these balconies. It does change the dynamic of the map. My only problem is that if you watch and you play the game, people are still formulaic in the way they're playing it. You saw earlier, earlier on, that dropship pilot desperately trying to make the game bend to his will, because that's what he's always done, and that's the problem. It needs fixing, and it needs changing. So I suppose if this is the way we're going, then I celebrate it. I'm not terribly happy with the jumping piece because it does feel a little bit dumbing down. It does feel a little bit like, just reviewing other games for what works and what doesn't work. And it just feels like they're saying, okay, let's go do that. But then again, there is a process, there is a roadmap, and I think if this is the only way they can do it, then you have to just accept it. I still love Dust. I do enjoy this game. I think things like the jumping thing are just amusing. But they're not, again, it's just like he's trying to make serious, hardcore games. I'm not sure the jumping bit really has a place in it. What I would have thought is you would have had maybe a much more solid mechanic of some kind or another. Possibly zero gravity, maybe, I don't know, jump packs or something like that. Something which was a bit more realistic. But just having stupidly high, jumpy, flubbery jumps just seems, it doesn't seem right, does it? Again, this is the cut. What is fun versus what is not fun. When you look at Quake, when that had jump mechanics in there, there were just jump pads on the floor that you run over and then boing, up you went. And obviously that was very unrealistic as well. But I think Quake wasn't selling itself as, quote, a serious shooter. It was selling itself as almost a kind of casual shooter, really, which I never thought Dust was. I always thought Dust, while it was free to play, didn't sit within the model of free-to-play games. It's like saying Counter-Strike is a lobby shooter disposable game, which it's not really, is it? It's quite a serious game when you think about it. I think Dust was obviously on the same page. However, every single change that seems to come seems to just push it the other way. And I don't know why. I'm not sure. I couldn't quantify why, but I just think generally it needs, I think, a bit of honesty to say, well, what is the game really going to do? Where's it going to go? Is it going to go into an open world H1Z1 Daisy-esque Borderlands style game? In which case, great. But then, is jumping going to have a place in that? Are they going to change stuff all the time? It just doesn't feel right. Anyway, there we go. I'm going to be very clear with this. I think that Dust, I'm worried about where Dust is going, and I have been for a long time. I've spoken about it bloody hundreds of times. I trust Ritati and the team. They really know what they're doing. I give them props. But I think it's just maybe the advisement is wrong, and maybe their thought on where the game is going is wrong. What I always thought, and when I read certain articles from Rouge, etc., was that they wanted to make a quite serious game. They wanted to make something that would be a mix between Borderlands and DayZ, and that kind of serious. It's the equivalent, I guess, in Eve, which is a serious game. Let's be honest. It's not a flippant game. It's designed to be hardcore serious for serious gamers, and that's what gives it its allure. But I think with this, it's the equivalent in Eve of making it so that, I don't know, you can maybe, I don't want to say insta-walk from one side of the universe to another, but it feels like it. It feels like a rather cheap mechanic. It's like a revive. It's like, oh, you've just been killed, your ship's been blown up, please press 1, because you've got your module loaded where you'll respawn right next to where your carcass was. It's that kind of feel. It just feels dumbed down. It feels like a patch to fix a problem, which is rooftop camping. But as you can see from this video alone, people will still try and do rooftop camping. It's ridiculous. It is sad, ridiculous, and the problem of the game is the player base now. We're all to blame, and I'm no different, because sometimes, look at this map here. I'm just having fun, but I'm being a kind of a dicklord. But again, this is the problem. When do you draw the line and say, well, okay, let's have a good fight, lol, over dominating someone? I suspect that, if I'm honest now, and I look at the general cadre of maps that come and the general run of rounds, there's no fun games anymore. They're all quite serious. So, like this team we're fighting here, they were going for it, big time going for it, all heavy, quite a lot of proto, huge amount of logi chain supports, massive amounts of scouts trying to push us off the point. It was a great example of, I think, a team trying to win, which is the point of the game. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of you are probably shouting at the screen, saying, that's the point. Well, yeah, it is, but I think that's your point of the game. My point of the game, I don't care if we win all these. I never have. What I care about is, am I having fun? And if I spawn in and I get killed 3 times in a row trying to use a free shotgun scout suit by people who are running all proto in a gang, grouped up and being kind of dicks, then I'm not going to stick around for that. That to me is not a match that I'm going to get anything from. They get their win, so they're happy. I don't get my little bit of running about, shooting stuff, jumping now, I guess. Having a bit of fun, and I think that's the difference. There's a very clear line growing between, I guess, casual players like myself and hardcore players who, for some reason, this means something to them. This is an important result that they win. To me, it's just not important. So there we go. Again, I'm not going to be negative to it. It's amazing that they keep developing stuff for this. I honestly feel that it's coming now to the point where I think the reality is that even if they add lots of new content now continually, it's not going to really fix anything. Is the jumping thing going to get more players into the game? The answer is no. Is the tank changes going to get any new players into the game? Definitely not. Has any patch they've done recently brought in anything that's going to actually bring anything new to the game? Maybe some of the academy changes aren't too bad. But if you're honest, again, I know a lot of the team, they start new characters and they just run them. The reality is after running a character for about 5 matches, maybe 4, you are then put in these matches with us, and then that's it. You're just entering the fight club. And the reality is it's not very interesting. Yes, I know a lot of players will love it because they get easy kills, lol, but I think the vast majority of players maybe wouldn't like the thought that every round they do where they grind someone's face into the dirt, it means another player leaves. That worries me. And I'm not the kind of player that's going to get any enjoyment from thinking that I pushed someone out of the game. That's my older days. I don't believe that anymore. And I think this is the problem. There's only tryhards left. There's only... And I don't mean tryhards in a bad way. It sounds horrible. I don't like the word tryhard, actually. It's the wrong word. There's only people who are really serious and dedicated to this game left in reality. And I think, that's not a problem for them, because it means that they probably get some quite challenging fights continually. There's very few boring rounds, I would imagine. But I think the reality is it's pretty problematic to the game's longevity, because you've just look at the population count. This game is dying, and it is dying on its arse. And I think this is a worrying thought to me, because I don't want this game to die. I would love it if it had just evolved and developed into Legion. And in fact, Legion, it's worth just noting that, and this may piss a lot of you off, but don't care. Legion needed to happen because this game is old. It's been around for years and years. It's old, it's decrepit, it's on a walking frame. The community is leaving it. Alarm bells, dudes. This game is old and it is dying. And what needed to happen was to continue the IP. They needed to let Ritati and team loose on Legion on the PC or on the PS4. Don't care which. And that needed to be the way forward, because they are throttled and stifled by the fact that they've been purchased, and they are not majority owned by the people who run the company now. They're run by, quote, shareholders who want their pound of flesh. The reality is CCP has also been stalled, stymied, stagnant and stale, because they're not allowed to spend money. They're not allowed to push forward. Legion hasn't been greenlit because it's a huge cost, and it's also a continued risk. And this is the reality, is that everything, it's a business decision, and it's a business throttling of funds that is now causing problems to this game. There is probably likely revenue targets that they've got to hit. If they don't hit it, forget it. You're not gonna develop Legion until you hit this. And I think that's just absolutely tragic. It's FanFest soon, and I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope that at FanFest they announce that Legion's coming. Boosh, here it is. There you go. It's going to be out in in May, and there'll be a demo version by, I don't know, June. Oh, that'd be great. I suspect, however, I'm probably going to be disappointed. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.